Forex, and this video is behind schedule because guess what? I know the time has changed, but realistically, my sleep patterns haven't. Okay, so I'm a little bit behind. Hold on one second. Let me switch this over. So, in this particular video, and by the way, if this is your first time, thank you for tuning in. In this particular video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over my personal opinion about which is actually more profitable, whether you should be a trend trader or a reversal, okay, or what I like to call trading at the Mount Everest, or when you're trading at the bottom, I call that at the Mariana Trench, which is the lowest part so far recorded in the earth, okay? Mount Everest, it's the top of the mountain in the world, the biggest mountain in the world. So once you are at the very top, there's nowhere else to go. So you have no choice but to reverse and go back the other way. If you're at the Mariana Trench, which is the very bottom, then you have no choice but to reverse and go back up. Hey, what's up, Derek and everybody else? So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. And just to set the agenda for today, this is going to be a very important class because you need to find out which one are you. Okay, and I'm going to talk about what majority of traders do and majority of what I think institutions do and which one is going to be more profitable. We'll go over that, okay? Also, we're going to be talking about the signal service. I'll go over that in just a moment. And then on Wednesday, there's going to be a huge meeting. And yes, I'll put a link in here for those who want to join. The wait is finally over. As you can see, my eyes are tired. Still working on the finalizing of things. I got a huge presentation for you guys on Wednesday. So it will be in my Zoom class, but I'll be posting a link here so that you guys can join as well, okay? So make sure to be there for that. All right, so first of all, here's what I had learned after all these years of trading, okay? I find that both can be profitable. Hear me good on what my analysis is. Both can be profitable if you know when to jump in, okay? That's one of the biggest things I've been trying to teach my students for a long time is knowing when to jump in, okay? Because what happens is that oftentimes majority of retail traders, and here we go, majority of retail traders always look to do reversal trading. Matter of fact, they even have a special strategy, which many of you guys who's listening now and will listen in a couple of hours, the thousands will be watching this later. You've probably studied the market maker's method. Okay, one of the market maker's method is you trade at the high of the day and at the what? Low of the day. Am I right? How do I know? Because I studied under a mentor for about 2 or 3 years on just the market maker's method alone. Okay, so there's tons of things that we look for. And why do we look for trading at the high of the day, low of the day, at the what we consider the high of the week and the low of the week? Get what I'm saying? See, I've studied that for years. I understand it. So what we're looking for is because it looks like if I can just catch it at the very top, then I can ride that thing all the way down. Or if I can catch that thing at the very bottom, then I can ride it all the way up. Is that profitable? Yes, it is. But you have to use wisdom on when to do that, okay? And I'll get back to that. Now, let's get to flip over, and I'll jump back to that momentarily. Now, let's get over to the trend trading section. Majority of people who trade like to be reversal traders, but they have heard the term, which is echoing in the back of their head that says the trend is your what? Your friend, right? So if I'm a reversal trader, but the trend is my friend, that creates a automatic chaotic situation in how I'm approaching the markets. Because on one hand, I'm looking to trade at the high of the day, low of the day, high of the week, low of the week, at the peak of the mountain or at the bottom of the valley so I can catch those big moves to the other side. But at the same time, I keep hearing that the trend is my friend. So then which one is really my financial friend? Here it is, my friends. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Both are. I do both. I do both every single week. Now, here's what I look for, okay? When I'm looking for, and I actually put out videos about, just recently, showing some examples of when I'm looking for reversal trades. When I'm looking for reversal trades, I'm first looking for exhaustion on the trend. Okay, write these things down so that you can be profitable this week. I'm looking for exhaustion on the trend. I want the trend to be exhausted. That means it's been riding and riding and riding and riding and riding, and it needs to take a break. Now, when most traders trade, for an example, let me tell you a big problem, market makers method people. I'm in your camp, so don't get pissed because I'm telling truth. The biggest problem I had with that strategy all that time, because you can catch those higher days, lower days, those M's and them W's are what I used to call Mark Williams. Okay, Mark Williams, why? Because you're looking for the M at the top and you're looking for the W at the bottom, or the double tops, double bottoms. They have all these different names, but it's still the same thing, right? So I used to call it the Mark Williams. Why? Because it looks like a little M pattern at the top, or a W Williams, a W pattern at the bottom. So when you're catching those, it looks really, really good. But at the same time, after I got into it, many times they got blown up and the pattern kept on going. So if I'm trading at the high of the day looking for an M pattern, it should stop, create the M, the double top, and then pull down, give you about 20 pips or so. But then it wouldn't. It would give me the little thing here and then boom, shoot off and keep going back up. Or at the W pattern, it would look like it's a W and then it just drops to the bottom. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has happened to. Am I right? Okay. So the problem is that number one, I'm looking at the higher time frames. So write this down. I'm looking at higher time frames, 4 hour, dailies, even for some people, the weekly. I want to know, what is that trend looking like? Is it still in full force, moving in a certain direction? Get what I'm saying? Is it in mid stride, which means it still has room to go further? If so, I don't want to reverse trade on that. So I've been doing reversal trades for years and posting it on YouTube. Go back to my channel and you see many of my trades where I take some really, really good reversal trades. But what you are not seeming to pay attention to, now my students are, but what you're not paying attention to, I'm always glancing at what? Minimum, the 4 hour time frame. And I'm looking for the price action to show proof within our simplicity system, within those zones. I'm seeing proof that you're exhausted. You're trying to break through here, but you're having a tough time. That's one of the first things I'm looking for. So when we were taught the market makers method, we primarily were taught to do it. And I'm not picking on market. Well, I guess I am, aren't I? The reason why I'm mentioning market makers method, because I studied it for about 2 or 3 years under a mentor who, and it's a good strategy. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good strategy and it works. But the problem was the timing of when to get in on it was wrong. And when I say timing, it could mean not just the time of the day, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but also just the time of the trend. The trend was not tired yet. So yes, it will do a small pullback, but then it will shoot and keep on going. Okay, so that was the two problems. So am I picking on it a little bit? I'm only choosing that because that's one of the most popularly, widely studied methods of reversing. Why? Because it's called the market, beat the bank, beat the banks, beat the market makers method. All this, they have all these different titles. Now that's not the only one, but the problem with all of reverse trading is until you understand the higher time frame story, you have no business trading off the 5 or 15 minute trying to do reversal trades, which is what we were taught to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with the strategy, but it was taught for me to use it sometimes at the wrong time. And so therefore, yes, I would win some, but then I was losing some. So it felt like I wasn't going anywhere because I wasn't taught to connect what was going on with these lower time frames to what the storyline was on the higher time frames. Now I'm going to say something to you guys. My students already know this because I tell them this all the time. For some of you guys, you don't know, I went to school for news and broadcasting years ago, because I thought I wanted to be a news broadcaster. So I went to school to learn how to be on television and how to be a news broadcaster. And it was a very interesting class and set of classes to take to learn what goes on behind the scenes when you're looking at news, what versus what they tell you about news. Okay, so why am I bringing that up? One of the biggest lessons I learned from attending school for news and broadcasting was this: you do not ever tell a story on TV unless you're an action news reporter, meaning that you're there when the action is happening, kind of like what's going on with CNN and others. They're in Ukraine reporting as the action is happening. That's a different kind of reporting. Other than that, you don't ever jump your butt on the camera as a newscaster telling a story unless you've read and pre-read the story itself, so that you know in full scope what actually happened, but you tell clips of it to the public on television. But you don't just jump on there without knowing what's going on, unless you're one of those action newscasters who don't know what's going to happen next. But a regular newscaster, they better know the whole story before they tell you, the public, a couple of clips about what happened. Okay, so why am I saying that? Because that's exactly what I learned, which is most valuable to me when I'm trading. I need to go to the higher time frame to see what the story is before I jump down to a lower time frame and try to get my butt jumping in and talk about I'm gonna do some trade and I'm gonna catch this thing at the high, and it wasn't high yet. It wanted to go higher. Oh, I want to catch this thing at the low, and it was still going lower. And my trades get blown up, and so does my account, because it looked like it performed the perfect M pattern, or it looked like it performed the perfect W pattern, but it wasn't perfect. It was a fake out. How many of you got trapped in some of them? How many times have you got trapped in something like that? So what I like to do is I look for exhaustion on the 4-hour or the daily for me. And if I see exhaustion where I see it's reaching into the crevices, and let me kind of show you this. Okay, you see my zones here? You see this red zone? Okay, and you see this green zone. So when I'm on a 4-hour time frame, the first thing I'm looking for is I'm looking for exhaustion points where you're up in there. See, for an example, this particular pair, you can see it from here. I'm sorry I don't have a, I started to record this and then just post it on there instead of doing live, but I wanted to talk to you. I'm looking at this particular pair right here, okay? And I see here it got exhausted and touched the very top. But if I look right here, it's close to the top, but it ain't touching yet. So I'm not ready to look for a reversal trade because it's not touching the top of my zones in my simplicity system. Whatever you use, do your thing. But in my simplicity system, I don't see it touching the top of the zones yet. So therefore, and for my students who have the system, I'm on the AUD USD right now. AUD USD, go to the 4-hour time frame and you can see exactly what I'm looking at. If you already have my trading system, go look at it. AUD USD. You'll see that the prior high, the prior section of it touched several times off the top of the 4-hour zone and couldn't break through. That is when you're getting me excited to go down to the lower time frame and start entering. Why? Because it's showing exhaustion. That means this thing has been trending, and now it's hitting the point where it's tired and the buyers, in case of an uptrend, the buyers are running out and the sellers are starting to pile in. So do you see how I gather my news story about the pair from the higher time frame first before I ever want to consider taking a trade on the lower time frame, such as the M or the W pattern for the market makers method? I have to have the whole global story before I worry about the immediate moment. And I think that's what's missing for some of you guys. So yes, the trend, in my opinion, can still be this pair's friend, which means if I don't see it hitting my exhaustion levels, I don't want to touch it. Or if I do, I'm going to go ahead and follow it on up as a trend trade, because it seems like it's still ready to go up further until it hits my retest points. Okay. How do I get all that? Simply from the 4-hour time frame, or you can go to the daily. Okay. Let me click on another pair, see if you guys can see it from here. Sorry, I don't have something better, but all right. So let's look at this one here. This is a perfect example. If you have my trading system already, you can verify this on your own. Go to Euro USD. Euro USD. Okay, so on this one, number one, we already got on the 4-hour time frame, a buy arrow is here. Not saying it won't pull back, but I'm just simply saying, notice that it's not in the buy zone here. Price action, you can see it right here. Okay, it's not in the buy zone, but it's not in the sell zone either. So what kind of trade would I be looking for? Would I be looking for a reversal trade, or would I be looking for a trend trade? If anything for me, I'm going to go to the daily and also look and see, okay, what's the story on the daily? And the daily looks like it bounced off the bottom of the zone. See, the Mariana Trench. This is exactly what I'm trying to tell you guys. On my daily right here, you can see it touched the bottom. I go to the 4-hour. It touched the bottom. Now I'm looking for buy trades. Why? Because it's confirmation reversal time is here. But if it's in the middle of these zones, why am I looking for a reversal trade? Get what I'm saying? That chance is over. Or you could play around with it on the lower time frame, but truth is, are you taking bigger risk at that point? Yeah, you are. You are. And that's what many of you guys are doing. That's why your accounts keep blowing up. The second thing, keep this in mind. Now, this is even better. The other thing I have learned is that each trading session tends to have its own behavioral patterns. Hear me good. Each trading session tends to have its own type of behavioral pattern. So for an example, if you're trading when the market's open today, they're going to be open when the Sydney session is going to be open. And then shortly after that, you're going to have the Tokyo session, or as they call it, the Asian session. The Asian session tends to drift along with the original trend. I hope you guys are writing this down. The Asian session tends to drift along with the original higher time frame trend. Okay. Therefore, if that's the case, should I even be looking for reversal trades during that session? If that particular behavioral session tends to drift along slowly, anywhere from 25, 50 pips, and it just drifts along with the original trend, then should I not stop trying to reverse at that time? Let me give it to y'all better, and I'll leave you with this. I'll just leave you with this. Think about it like this. The majority of you, and just, you can say, I don't believe you, Uncle Pete, that's cool. But I guarantee you this has some truth. Why? Because it's frustrated me for years. Watch what I'm going to tell you. I would see some beautiful trade setups for reverse trades. And I would take those trades and I would say my little pip prayer. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my trades to keep. If my stop get hit before I wake, I pray the Lord my emotions to take. Right? That's that pip prayer. You know, you take the trade and you pray that things work out. Okay? And you typically take the trades when? Not during the Frankfurt-London session, but during the end of the Asian session. It looks like it's a perfect setup. And you take the trade. Am I the only one who that has happened to? Or am I telling some TRUTH up in here? Okay, I love you too, Mike. I'm just telling the truth. Has that not happened to you? How many times have you taken a reversal? Think about the trade you took. So you don't have to believe what I'm saying. Think about the trades you take. Especially if you've been on a long streak and it's just seemed like, man, this ain't working. Consider the type of trade you took. Was it a trend trade or was it a reversal trade? And pay attention to when you take the trade. Now, let's take this a step further. See, instead of me constantly trying to, tell my side of the story, I'm just going to bring to you what I know happens to you because it happens to everybody. because everybody keeps doing the same thing. And it happened to me until I started waking up to what's really going on behind the scenes. Think about it like this. Let's take that a step further. After you took that reversal trade towards the middle or end of the Asian session, which made it look really, really cool, like it's a perfect setup to trust. Think about it like this. What session was it where your stop got hit, and after they hit your stop, it then reversed, just like you predicted? When did that happen? See, the deal is if I keep telling you my ideas, then you'll fight me on it. But if I give you the truth and let you think about the trades that you're losing and what time it's happening, now you have to think and go into the crevices of your mind and say, wait a minute, is he telling some truth here? Why? As the Bible says, the truth will set you free. So I'm not going to give you more of my own theory. I'm just going to point in your trading career. Has this happened to you? And more, even further, has it happened more times than not to you? But the problem is, people keep repeating the same mistake, wondering if it's a strategy issue, when in essence, it's not a strategy issue. It's the time, baby, when you're using it. You're using it at the wrong time. Why? Because as I consider myself, I'm more of a behavioral analysis. You got technical analysis, you got fundamental analysis. I consider myself behavioral analysis because after all these years, I keep paying attention to behavioral patterns that the market is repeating. And that includes paying attention to each session. What kind of trading session am I in? And do they tend to drift in with the trend, or do they reverse? And what happens is, especially for most Americans, because I know I got international people who will be watching this later. So if you're in other countries, this may not even apply to you as much. Why? Because it's trading on your convenient time. For an example, London for the US is a time where we got to wake up early in the morning to get to the session. So of course we're getting trapped in the Asian session because that's the time we're woke and about to go to bed. But for you guys in the UK and other areas, it's your lunchtime. So some of this may not apply because that might be the regular time when you're actually looking for trades. And it just so happened to be at a time when it's just your lunchtime and hey, everything is honky-dory. So it doesn't impact you as much. But if you're here in the US and you're trying to take a trade before you go to bed, you're taking it before the session does its foolishness. So not only two things, not only am I looking for higher time frames to see exhaustion points based off of my zones on the 4-hour or the daily or both, but at the same time, I'm also looking for what session is it. And that's the reason why some of you guys, the market makers method or whatever you're doing, it works. But did you get up when the market was ready to reverse in that session? Because you're taking it when there's a session in play that wants to go with the trend. And then the other one wants to hit the stops and then reverse. Which one are you taking your trades in? Come on, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And just these two things alone, and I ain't gonna go further and exhaust you guys, because guess what? I'm tired. I've been up. Man, that's another point. This week on Wednesday, y'all better be ready for this fire. I got some fire for you. Okay. So students, make sure you're on time for class, and YouTube followers, even if you're not part of Simplicity, that's okay. I'm going to post a link so you can join. Okay. So you can be prepared for when I'm announced. I got something big for you. So I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I haven't slept. But here's the point. Just off of these two little nuggets alone, I'm giving you something to think about. Because I gave you two free tools to think about. Number one, have you paid attention to what movement typically happens in these sessions? For an example, I'll throw in one more bonus. Uncle P ain't tripping off of a US session. I will repeat. I will repeat. And you observe it this week for yourself. I ain't tripping off a U.S. session. Because after the first couple of hours of the U.S. session, after that, the U.S. ain't got nothing going on. What do I mean? Here's what I mean. Observe for yourself, loved one. When trading for the U.S. session, a lot of people want to make a big deal of it. Me personally, I don't. And this is just me. Do whatever you feel you do. I'm not saying there's not going to be trade setups during there, but as far as huge price action movements and all this and that, no. Here's the reason why. You will typically see, here's a bonus. This is why behavioral analysis comes into play. You will typically see behaviorally that when the U.S. market opens for the first hour or so, yeah, there's some good activity, but it tends to die off. Why? Why was there a lot in the first hours? Because it's the U.S. session. But after a while, it had nothing to do with the U.S. session. It was because it was coming to the tail end of the what sessions? The Frankfurt and London session is about to close. So you see a whole lot of activity going on. Because now you have the overlap of the London session, the Frankfurt session, and some of you guys didn't even know there was a Frankfurt session. See? Doop, doop, doop. Just throwing nuggets. Pow, pow, pow. Just dropping nuggets. Some of y'all, what? Why do you keep mentioning Frankfurt session? Check and you'll see there's a Frankfurt session. The Frankfurt market actually opens 1 hour before the London session, and it closes 1 hour before the London session. Come on now. You didn't know that either. You got to know. Come on now. Come on. Uncle P knows what he's talking about, okay? I lost so much money over the years until I had to learn the game, okay? So now that's the silent session that nobody really even knows about, right? Okay, so here's how it plays out. So the Frankfurt session begins to close. The market starts speeding up. Meanwhile, the U.S. session is open and it's active in the first hour and some change. But after that, the U.S. session itself really doesn't have that much of an impact to me. So now the Frankfurt session starting to close, so you're seeing a lot of activity. So you thinking it's just all U.S. session. No, it's not, because it's the Frankfurt session finna close. And so they speeding up to close out their books for that day. And then after that, you have the London session that's following right behind the Frankfurt session, and it's closing. When is this taking place? While the U.S. session is open. So now people think that the U.S. session is the bomb, right? That's okay if you find setups. I ain't saying it's not cool to trade during that time. I'm just saying behaviorally, you need to know why it's moving the way it does. Now watch this. The moment the London session closes, about 30 minutes to an hour after the London session has wrapped up for the day, the U.S. session is still open. But riddle me this. Why isn't it too much movement? The U.S. session is still open, but it seems like it's at a snail's pace. It's barely moving at all. Riddle me this. Now, I'm giving you something to observe this week. See, when you understand how these sessions actually flow and move, you begin to understand which ones are the most important sessions I really need to be paying attention to, and what kind of session do they? Do they flow with the trend, or do they reverse? And when you understand that, you can, man, there's so many different trading methods I've learned over the years. And now that I understand some of this stuff, I can go right back right now and reapply those same trading strategies, and they would have worked. So for those of you who keeps flip-flopping between 50 different strategies, you need to just settle down. You don't need that many strategies. The problem is you're fishing for different strategies because you're trying to find which one works. And I'm trying to tell you, all of them has the potential to work, but the problem is you're missing two important ingredients in your cooking. That's why when you're trying to cook that cornbread, don't nobody want to eat it but you. That cornbread don't taste like grandma cornbread because you're missing two important ingredients, beloved. You're missing two. What's the two ingredients you're missing? Number one, did you go to the higher time frame? If you're going to be a reversal trader, which most traders try to be, if you're going to be a reversal trader, then go to the higher time frame and confirm first whether it's at exhaustion levels on the higher time frames. Now, again, if you already have my trading system, you already know. Look for these zones, the reds and the greens. And I look really, really hard when I see that it's exhausted not only on the red or the green zone on the 4-hour, but also on the daily. For those who have my trading system, again, you can look at the, go to, for an example, look at the Euro USD, okay? And you'll see that on the 4-hour and, on the 4-hour and the daily, they both touch the bottom of the zone, which you can see right here. You can see it from here. See, it touched right off the bottom. There was a double confirmation that this is about as low as it's going to go. Then I look for entry points, and not during the drifting session, the Tokyo Drift. Y'all know that movie? You remember Fast and Furious, and they had the Tokyo Drift? Okay, I'm not looking for a reversal trade during the Tokyo Drift. Why? Because it can drift with the trend still. But when it's done, then I'm looking for that final move, which they typically do, which is a stop hunt at the open of the London. And then after that, it goes in reverse. Reverse, reverse, huh? Reverse, 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 reverse. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So you see how you put the story together before you put your hands on that mouse and start clicking buttons. Two things. Is it exhausted on a higher time frame? And what session typically does stop hunts and then reversals? Those two things alone will change your trading career. I'm telling you the truth. Come on now. You think about when you trade. And the key is, if you're going to be a reversal trader, the key is having patience to wait. Waiting for confirmations. Waiting to be sure. And if you're not sure, if you want to test what I'm saying, just stay in. I beg you guys, just go into a demo account, slow down trying to make money, and just go into a demo account and just test what I'm teaching today on exhaustion points on higher time frames. That's number one. And what session behaviors do. When is most, let me give it to you like this. How much frustration have you dealt with when you did your analysis and you said at this point it should reverse, and you know, but you took that trade, they stop hunted you first, and then it dropped like a rock in the same direction that you knew it was going to go. How many times did that happen to you? How many times, beloved? Huh? How many times? So here's what I learned to do. When I started seeing that kept on happening, instead of constantly just forging ahead and refilling my account and keep on doing the same thing, I sat my behind down. See, somebody said too many doggone times. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Yeah, see, I'm not the only one. I teach what I've experienced. That's the difference between me and some of these other people. They don't want you to know what happened to them along their journey. And they make it look like they just always had it magically in order. I'm coming back to tell you the stuff that happened to me so that you'll know when I am teaching you things, I'm teaching you because I was there. I know what it feels like to be frustrated. And especially when you did your analysis and you knew you was right. And you were after they hit your behind. Somebody said, give me some greens and cornbread. I know that's right. You gonna eat that cornbread? Heck no, your cornbread don't taste like grandma's. You missing some ingredients. All right, let me wrap this up. Let's contain it, because I know I'm just dripped out a whole bunch of different nuggets. But my point is that here's what I want you to do. Just take some trades in demo and test out what I'm trying to teach you today. And see for yourself if you don't see exactly what I'm trying to tell you. Because what I'm trying to tell you, loved one, cost me dearly to learn these simple little things. Before I even want to know whether it's a good time to take this trade for a reversal or a trend, I need to know what's going on with the higher time frames. So going back to, and I didn't say much about the trend, trend trading because, you know, I was talking, more people come in as reversal traders, believe it or not. They say the trend is your friend, but what they do is they actually come in as reversal traders. That's what I'm talking about, okay? So the point is that if I see that on the higher time frame, it has not hit exhaustion points, then for the time being, what will I do? I will be looking for trend trades, okay? Until it drifts into a level where I see it's possibly retesting some levels on the higher time frame, because that's what it tends to do. The market tends to drift and keep on going until it tests higher time frame levels. And then when it's exhausted, it reverses. Do you get what I'm saying? So the first thing you do is learn to be a higher time frame observer. Learn what the story is saying on the higher time frame. Number two, and again, I'm wrapping this up. Number two, then you learn what these behavioral patterns are of these trading sessions, because the sessions have characteristics. Again, US session, I don't really, you know, I see stuff, but it doesn't bother me because I know that its real thrust and power was infused because it was tied at, it opened up at the same time that the London and the Frankfurt session was open. So you got 3 trading sessions overlapping at the same time. That's a lot of volume of traders in the market during that time. But when the Frankfurt and London market closed, all those volume of traders, which by the way, in my opinion, the London market is the largest market. Okay, keep that in mind. So when it closes, there's a lot of volume of traders who's out of the market. Get what I'm saying? When the Tokyo or the Asian session is in play and it's kind of overlapping or coming to a close, yes, it was moving pretty slow. That's why when you're trading during those Asian sessions, you don't see a lot of big movement because it's not it's not the largest market. The volume of movement is not there because the volume of traders are not there. When the London market opens, the huge volume of traders have now just came on board. So any session that is attached to it will get some of that volume of traders. So when the US session is open during the time when the Frankfurt and London, the Frankfurt and more important, the London market is open, yes, the volume of traders are still in play. But once it closes, the US session acts just like the Asian session and it slows at a snail's pace. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's just from me observing. So if that case of high activity is when the Frankfurt London market is open, when is the most important time you need to be trading as a reversal trader? Can you guys see why you're getting set up reversal traders? Because it's still drifting with the trend until then, majority of the times. Now, there's some one-offs and stuff like that, but can you see what I'm saying? So if you're trying to reverse at the high, it's not high yet because it's going through the drifting period, waiting for the big kahuna, the big wave to come through. And what's the big wave? The Frankfurt London market to open. You're trading at the wrong time, people, for certain strategies. Yeah, Mike said London is the LeBron James, which, by the way, congratulations, LeBron, in case you're watching my video, Uncle P's video. Yeah, he taken as number 2 in the world in the history as far as scoring points, okay? Yeah, congratulations, LeBron. Yeah, but that's what London is. It controls majority of things. That's why when it's still open, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Think about when most of your stop hunts have taken place on your trades. Huh? When did most of your stop hunts take place on your trades? I'm going to say it again. When does most of your stop hunts take place on your trade? Think about your trades. Don't worry about nobody else. Yours. Unless there was a news event that came out during the Asian session, majority of the time your stop is perfectly fine. That's why you feel comfortable taking trades during that time and going to bed, because you think, oh, this is a perfect setup. And it's just moving slow. But then when London opens, while you're asleep, US traders, London market opens, tear that thing up. Smack them cheeks real hard. You wake up and, oh my God, you crying again. Why? Because who came through? London. All these other sessions, they don't matter. I see trades in them, but I would prefer to take a trend trade than I would a reversal in those sessions. That's what I would do. That's just me. But again, you test out the ideas. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Okay, YouTube family and students, I will see you guys on Wednesday. I got the big news. The time is up. We got things ready for you. I got some heat and fire for you. So be ready on Wednesday, which, by the way, I'll drop another video later on this afternoon, possibly. But for last week, again, markets were a little bit crazy, but we ended up pulling out. So as far as the signals, we were 13 and 6. Thank you, Mr. Elvis, for that. 13 and 6 on the signals. And as far as the scalping session, the indice pips are larger. Okay, much, much larger. And for those who trade in the indices, who trade the Dow, the S&P 500, NASDAQ, you know that the pip count is totally different, much larger. That's why you make a lot more money faster. They did about 17,025 pips last week. Tons of pips. And what was cool is because, as you know, when you're trading the indices, they follow the stock market. And it's relatively easy right now to make a lot of money. Why? Because the markets are acting pretty stable in whatever direction they're going to go in because of the war. So there's not too much fluctuation. Tons of money is being made in that group. So congratulations to Ms. Jenny for leading that. That is an amazing accomplishment. I know of no other group on the planet who's doing anything near what we're doing. And we're not making it up because there's hundreds of people in there who's recipients, who's part of that group. So again, we're not trying to shake and bake and fake and claim something that ain't real. It's happening. Okay. Okay. So again, let me offer to you, students, if you want to join my classes where you can learn more in-depth stuff, and I spend hours with my students every week, and I do record my classes for those who can't make it, just sign up. Again, I don't charge for my training session. Now, this is just drips pieces that I'm giving you guys on Sunday. It's not the full thing, but all I ask you to do, just buy the trading system. Okay, just buy the trading system, and then my classes, the link to how to get into the classes every week. I've been teaching classes for my students for years. I have never ever charged a single person a penny. Matter of fact, people ask me, hey, Uncle P, can you, what if I paid you for one-on-one sessions? I say, no, I don't even want your money. Because there's nothing I'm going to tell you one-on-one that I'm not going to spend time with all of my students in class teaching everyone so everybody learns together. So I've never in all my years of doing business, thank you, Derek, I have never, see, Derek, he been in my class, I have never charged for a class, not a single penny. But when I'm talking about trading strategies and stuff, we have to be on the same page. If you got the Elliott wave theory, I can't teach you, my strategy using our system when you got the Elliott wave method over here, or you got, the Donchion channel method over here. It's not compatible. So that's the reason why I only ask, if you want to be one of my students, that's cool, but just buy the trading system, which, by the way, thank you for the purchase of it, because that helps to support the 15 to 20 different nonprofit organizations we support. Okay, because we give a lot of that money away anyway, but my classes will be free and you can stay there. And we have what we call question and answer period, where I do a little lecturing, then I open it up and we go question and answer, and we spend time with every single person who has a question and raise their hand. And I spend quality time with you so that you're not out there paying all these individual so-called mentors for something I can teach you within the group for free. Okay, so don't email me, hey, Uncle P, how much for one-on-one classes? I don't do one-on-ones because I'm going to teach everybody together so we can all grow together. Question and answer is actually one of my favorite parts of the class. Okay, but we have to be on the same page in the same book. So this is the book. Simplicity is the book. Okay, so get the trading system and then just come to class, and I'll see you every single week. I'm here every week. Every week. I've been doing it for years. Okay. So if you need mentorship, just go to our website, www.superezforex.com, and click on the join button, purchase the trading system. And as soon as you purchase it, just click on, just go. You don't have to wait for me to send you. Somebody was, hey, y'all ain't sent me something. There's nothing for us to send to you. You got instant access. Just click on the login button at the top with the username and password you created, and you have instant access to everything. Okay. And then I'll see you guys, for the students, I'll see you on Tuesday. But for everybody as a whole, for the big kahuna news I got for y'all, and I know a lot of people have been waiting for it, it's ready. I'll see you on Wednesday. Okay, you guys, have a great Sunday, and I'll talk to you soon.